Applause for Dartanyan. He's a very modest man who's also in the Iowa Blues Hall of Fame, Iowa Jazz Hall of Fame, Iowa Rock Hall of Fame, and in my opinion, the Iowa Climate Fighter Hall of Fame. So later we're going to have some Irish music, but we're going to start it off here with a few very, very short remarks, and I'll kick it off, I guess. We're going to hear from 3 people who were on the march. And we're going to hear from 3 people who were involved with, who are involved with the climate bird dog effort. And then we'll hear from somebody who's got another march coming up. So I'll just take it off again. As I've said to people, the march across the country was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Writing a book about it was a close second. So it's really kind of amazing when I think back that 5 years to this hour, we were here. Well, I might have been a little bit like. It was almost exactly 5 years to the hour that we were here, and then we set out on a 2-mile march to the state capitol. About 350 people. It was a really good moment. And I don't know if anybody's read my book, but I wanted to quit at that point until my son showed up. So that was an amazing story there. That's the book is called Son and Father. Not to be confused with the chapter called Father and Son. Anyway, really appreciate all the people who supported us back then and continue to support the work that's going here. Honestly, I thought we'd have climate action nailed by now. We don't, but we've made huge progress, and we're making progress every single day. And right now, with Iowa in the crosshairs of the presidential campaign, the impact we can have is incredible, incredible. Here's an example just from yesterday. Shari and I were at the fair. We're really good at sniffing out presidential candidates. We find Joe Biden. He's got a big crowd. I managed to sneak in and say, Joe, you got to talk more about climate. You got to talk about climate. Well, a few minutes later, on the stage of the soapbox, he's talking about climate for 3 minutes. Now, he doesn't normally do that because later last night, in an hour-long speech, he never mentioned climate until Kathy brought it up at the very end of the meeting. But the fact that we got him to talk about climate at the soapbox led to many stories in the national press where it says Biden talks about climate, healthcare, and something else. So bird dogging makes a huge, huge difference. And we're going to hear from a couple people about, 3 people about that. But I want to invite Sarah Spain up to the mic. Sarah was, oh gosh, I thought I had a hard job. I think Sarah's job was harder. She was the logistics coordinator. She had to pull it all together. I write much about her in the book because she was so integral to the whole experience. Sarah, come on up.
Hey, I got my just Yes, I had to wear the hat. This is actually what I wore 5 years ago across the United States. And so everybody knew when this hat showed up, they better get their vest on. I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to have been a part of the march, the Great March for Climate Action. I think one of my, well, I have a few favorite things, but I was in Los Angeles working actually for Adam Levine's aunt in one of her clothing stores, and just having a, easy, life. Knew about the march, accepted my blessings, and I was planning on going, but the rains kept me from driving there. That's how much it rained. Refused to get on the freeways, and so about a few days later, I got a message from my sister Siobhan, and she said, there's a group of marchers, as marchers, they need logistics and they need to get across the United States, and you need to get them across the United States. So I applied for the job. I drove to Joshua Tree to apply for a job. I was good. Joshua Tree was fine if I didn't make it, and met the marchers and was so impressed with the group of the dedication. I learned a lot about climate change. When I was a little girl, though, my dad and mom raised us on a farm here south of Des Moines, and climate change was part of our conversation 40 years ago. And my dad taught earth science at Callanan. Some of you might remember Chuck Spain. My mom, Joanne Van Balen, is here. And they taught us as children to be stewards of the earth, and climate and global warming, all that was part of the conversation. I had no idea. I just assumed everybody was talking about it. So I think it's still surprising that we have a struggle talking about it and not acting on it. So I really hope that we can take this forward and really make a difference. There's solutions that we have. I want to say thank you to all the indigenous people whose land we got to walk across. When we walked through every climate, every temperature change, terrain, 8 months. And I drove circles around these marchers. I mean, they were actually doing the marching. I had to do a lot of scouting and that sort of thing. I got to walk a little bit too. But the graciousness of our hosts throughout this country was absolutely amazing. We walked up through a lot of indigenous tribal lands during their feast days. And so we were not actually allowed to even walk through the town, so they gave us special permission to go on their land, where I don't think a bunch of people, especially climate marchers, had walked, and people had not been on that land for a long time, so it was very sacred. Yeah, I remember the hardest thing of the march was going through parts of the country where it was so clear to see the devastation of climate change, and yet the people were not, but they didn't see it. And I just want to thank all of the marchers and Shari Hrdina, all my staff friends. There's 3 of the 4 staff people that are here, and I just send my blessings out to all of the people who supported us throughout the 8 months. And let's see, maybe there'll be another one. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We have one more person who was integral to the march, Shari Hrdina. Sarah kept everything going on the road. Shari kept it all together back home. I really don't know how we could have done it without having some sane, stable person who wasn't losing lots of weight and sleep back in Des Moines, who was doing the grunt work that Shari was doing. Sure.
I'm usually the one behind the scenes, so I'm not usually the one making all the speeches in front of people. I first met Ed maybe about 12 years ago, but turn your mic a little closer to your mouth.
Is this better?
Pretend you're on the stage. I told you I'm not usually in front of people. I don't know how to use these things. Okay, so I met Ed probably about 12 years ago, but funny story, I may not have been here and worked with Ed had it not been that we had the exact same birthday. We were both born on March 1st to 10 years apart. And so when I first heard about the march is when the rest of the world first heard about the march. It was Ed was hosting a birthday party, and he was going to make a campaign announcement. Everybody thought, ooh, which office is he going to run for now? And actually what he was announcing was the campaign for the Great March for Climate Action. And so I thought, hey, that kind of sounds cool. And ironically, I had just got laid off 2 weeks before from my nonprofit sustainable job that I had prior. So I helped out volunteering, making posters and stuff like that. And then it ended up turning into paid employment, which Ed and I have been working together for the last 6 years. Now, like you said, I was mostly staying in Des Moines while everybody else was marching. I was out there for the first 2 weeks. It was a little bit different because a friend of mine called it like the fog of war. You know, they were out marching, and I spent like the first 10 days out there, and so I know it's a lot of work, especially when we're doing this on a shoestring budget to make all of this work. And sometimes, even though we had regularly scheduled meetings, I didn't always get to hear what was happening on the march. And so, you know, they'll say something that's like, oh, I never heard about that. So that was an interesting experience to come from there. But I think one of the biggest takeaways that I heard from the march that was fascinating, it's like no matter where they walked, it's like each region had their own battle that they were fighting in regards to fossil fuels and climate. Like around Illinois, with some of the pollution from the coal fires, or where it started in Los Angeles at Wilmington, where they had the fossil oil tankers and stuff, or in Pennsylvania where they were having problems with fracking and large amounts of, disease related, from the chemicals and stuff like that. So it's for those of us who can't actually march, it's been very eye-opening to hear the stories. It's not just us that's dealing with the pipeline, or not just us that, dealing with something. Everybody's being affected from it. And that's one of the greatest things I think that this march has done, and to bring attention to what we need to do moving forward.
Thank you, Shari. So, there's a lot of awesome people here, and it's always, I want to recognize a few of the awesome people because of the contributions they've made to the march, or they're currently making to Bull, Iowa. John Racho, Maureen McHugh, they joined the march for 3 days, I think. Well, on 2 different occasions, so maybe more than that altogether, but amazing grandkids who were like 11 and 10 and walked 19 miles one day. Amazing. Troy Church, who fed my cat while I was gone, tried to kill my jasmine tree, but I got back just in time to save it. Troy, you were amazing. And my partner, Kathy. Oh. Behind Kathy, Sam Kuhn, who's just talking to somebody instead of paying attention like usual.
I'm sorry.
Sam has done amazing work with Sam has done an amazing job at bird dogging, truly amazing. So, and somewhere here is Todd. Where's Todd? Oh, Todd. Todd has been, he's also been just on the front lines of all the bird dogging we're doing, so thank you to you guys. I'm probably missing somebody. If I am, thank you. Anyway, want to hear from 3 people who've been on the front lines of doing bird dog work, and the first is Adrianne Erickson. Come on up, Adrianne.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adrianne Erickson, and hopefully you can all hear me. I'm here because I care about Mother Earth. Always have, always will. And I've been able to bird dog a few presidential candidates recently with this awesome team, and I really have enjoyed the experience. My favorite experience was probably my first one, because I realized how easy it was. We went to a rally for Bernie Sanders, who is in my top 5, I'll tell you that. And he immediately noticed our signs. As soon as he even mentioned climate, we brought out our signs. There's one of them over there, climate is a crisis, and he acknowledged the signs and spoke about it, just how Ed was talking. Every time we bring it up, they do notice it. And I don't always blame them for not talking about it, because I cannot imagine. My day job is hard enough as it is, and there's so many things going on constantly, and I think what happens is most people just need a reminder to care about sustainability and climate and whatever it might be. Clean water, clean air, it's all important, right? It's everywhere, and our communities care about it, people in the community care about it, and we need the government to care about it, because they have the most power over how things could play out, right? So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. It's cool that they're even doing this, and I definitely encourage anyone that's even interested in having a conversation about climate to bring it up more often.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you so much. Hey, but folks, remember, do vote. We're asking people to vote for their top 5 candidates, and we'll announce those Monday on the talk show. Yeah. So, I also want to recognize Jeannie McCrea, who has done amazing work with that phone is like attached to her hand. She's at every event and doing photos and videos constantly. Thank you. Okay, so where's our... Oh yeah. There's also, we have a silent auction basket here donated by Jan Quarterman and Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. So make a bet on that. Bid $500, $1 million, whatever you want. No, I think the actual value is probably like $50. It's really cool. So Anmol Pakhale, we met in interesting circumstances. Kathy and I were trying to get our bikes over the fence to get into a union hall where there was a meeting with Pete Buttigieg. And a friend of his saw us and thought, those 2 pathetic people, they need my help. He helped us get the bikes over the fence. We went inside and sat with him, and that's where we met this guy. And Anmol has done some amazing work within the bird dogging effort, but also beyond that. Come on up.
Hi everyone, I'm Anmol. I'm originally from Mumbai, India. And originally from Mumbai, India, and recently I've been looking at the news and I'm seeing that there's like a lot of flooding going on in the state I'm from and the state surrounding it. Like the whole state's been flooded, like not just like one city or one county or anything, but it's the whole state's been flooded. And it's just like about 250,000 people have been evacuated, and I see so many gates of dams have been opened. This is not like it happens very often, and I've been seeing climate change since I was a teenager. But even though I felt really strongly about it, I had different priorities in my life. I wasn't thinking straight, but recently I figured out that I need to put I cannot just feel strongly about climate change and not do anything about it. Those two things should not go together. If you feel so strongly about it, then you gotta have to do something about it. And when I decided to do that, I was thinking like, I wasn't sure like how do I do this? Like it's such a huge issue. I felt so small in front of it. So the first thought I had, like, who can make a difference? It's like I always thought that the strongest person in this world can make the biggest impact. And I believe that the strongest person in this world is the president of this country. That's how I first started going to presidential candidates events. And that's when, as he explained, that's when I met Kathy and Ed. And that was one of the best things happened in my life, because like I had the energy, but I did not have I had the interest, but I did not have a proper direction to go to. And thankfully, these guys that started directing me, and because of them, I got the chance to talk and question 2 of the presidential candidates. And the best part of it, that the questions were made by Ed. So, and you know, the way it goes, that he always makes a question that's not just a generic question, it's a question that he always makes perfectly for the candidates we're asking questions to. And that just always catches them off guard. And then you always get an honest response, like they just have to come up with a response right out of their head. So that kind of felt really good to understand, like where are the candidates standing, and it kind of gives you a better idea of how much they are actually putting the climate at what priority they're putting the climate at. So that has been a great experience. And other than that, what I'm doing is that I'm also at my workplace. I'm trying to make our workplace more environment friendly and more sustainable. And like it might feel like it's a small thing, but I feel like every small thing counts when it comes to climate change. And if all of us do something that's small, it always comes up into something big. And if you want to do something big, that's where the bird dogging comes in impact. So I'm really enjoying this experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Anmol. Yeah. And you know, by the way, I mean, this is, we have about 250 people statewide who have committed to doing this kind of bird dog work. And I'd say over 100 have already gone to at least one event, and many have gone to multiple events. So, but the truth is, we need more help. This is only going to get busier and busier. So, a young guy that we haven't known too long, actually, but he's been incredibly active. There isn't a presidential candidate that comes to Yankee that hasn't met Shaun Ahern. Shaun, you want to come up and, where's Shaun? What?
Good and ambassador.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Good and ambassador. Good and ambassador. On
Well, just come on up here and say a few words. I don't even know what you're saying right now.
on the outside perspective.
On the outside, okay, yes. Shaun's from Ankeny, and he's been, he went through the climate reality training, and he's been fired up to do something.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's somebody who hasn't been in this as long, or shorter than I have, but I got involved in about May, so it's only been about 3 or 4 months. I've probably done about 8 or 9 candidate events between my busy schedule, and it's just learning. It's just an experience for me, because I'm not the type of person doesn't like to be forceful and that sort of thing, and get, well, not disrespectfully, but just engage people and push them to do better, what we want to do. So I got involved because, as Ed mentioned, when I was back in high school or college at Iowa State a couple of years ago, I ran into a student organization that's the climate, that's the student program for a climate reality project. I don't know if you've ever heard of climate reality projects. It's Al Gore's big project for organization that came after any community trip. He created it. It's an international thing now. There's activists all over the world. And I happened to do, before I graduated, a training. They do trainings every 4 years. And which is why I'm wearing this pen, because that's what you get when you get trained. And I'd done climate activism work when I can in the 2 years after I graduated. But I didn't feel, I was signing petitions, I was going to rallies and events when I could, but I felt like there was a better presence, like especially probably February, March this year, I felt there was a better way to have a better presence. So I went to the Road to the Green New Deal tour here at Drake in April. And Ed and a few others, before I went to the event, had been passing out a thing for a workshop. And I thought, you know what, it's a Thursday night, I'm going to be tired, but you know what, I got to do something about it, and I got to get involved. So I went to that, and just, I feel good because I'm making a difference, and there's a community, and there's some organization that I can channel this to make an impact in their state. And what also kind of drives me is, I didn't think about this until about a year or two ago, but I have some personal connections to climate. As he mentioned, I'm from Aiken, and if you're familiar with what happened 13 months ago, we got hit the hardest. In Aiken, we got hit the hardest. We got over 10 inches, in some places even more than that, in 3 hours. And I'm involved with another community organizing group, and we're still working. We still have citizens working on how can we be more resilient and mitigate it as a community. And the other thing is, my sister, about 10 years ago, moved down to New Orleans. And you can imagine what happened about a month ago. Fortunately, they missed, but it was after Katrina. But every time something like that happens, and we all know, we don't like to think of it, but it's induced by climate change. And so that happened to be the day where we had that event in Aiken. And I made that clear on the live stream. I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm hoping this storm misses. And she nailed it. She married an Australian man, and so somehow they moved to Australia. Of course, they're going through all the crazy heat waves. It's worse than here. So, just those two things just kind of fuel, and I'm glad to be a part of it in this community.
So hey, before we bring up the Irish musicians, they don't have a name. I play with this group, but we're not really a group. It's just whoever shows up plays. Yeah. It's
the Irish whatever.
The Irish whatever. It's the traditional way of Irish music happening. I want to have Pascha Morgan come up and tell you about, because we're very partial to marches in this group, right? So Pascha's organizing Mad AF March, and he's going to tell you about that and invite you to join him. He kicks off on August 31st. This is a pretty cool idea, and I'm really proud of him for putting it together. He's been involved with some of the bird dogging as well, but we're going to lose him for a couple months.
Hello, everybody. I'm very shy, so if I'm awkward, that's why. I am organizing a march. It's more of a walk. It's a one-man march, but I'm welcome for anybody to march with me. But do I need to start up? Okay, here we go. Okay, let me start again. It's a one-person march. Basically, it is about closing, or actually about the detention center. So I'm walking from the state capitol in Iowa to the detention center in Flint, Texas. A little louder?
Yes. Thank you. One more time.
All right. I am walking from Iowa State Capitol to the detention center in Flint, Texas.
Yeah.
I am. Well, really, I don't know. There was something I needed to do. The kind of slogan of the march is a 1,200 mile journey to put words like love and compassion and humanity into action. I don't know how we got where we are at this point, but I just had to do something, and I can walk, so that's what I'm going to do. The purpose of it is to raise money for legal fees and reunification fees for the families, and trying to get them back with their families and trying to get them some legal aid. It would be for materials and things to help them live better, but they're not letting anything in anyway. So the most I can try to do is to get them out. And right now, going through the legal process and getting them attorneys that speak their language and things like that are the most I can do. So, but if anything else, it's going to be for awareness and education, and just to talk to people as I go, and for anything else, hopefully, somehow they know that somebody cares. That, and sometimes in a hopeless situation, that's really all you need, is to know that you're not forgotten, and that somebody loves you. And so that's what the march is about. It's MAD AF. It's the March Against Detaining Asylum-Seeking Families. You can go on the Facebook page. It's MAD AF 1200 if you look it up on Facebook, and it'll tell you a little more, including the route. Feel free to go and check it out, and I would appreciate any support you can give. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. They're really, it gives me hope to know that there are so many amazing people doing so much good work in this world. Because it really is a troubled world, as we've seen, but we're making progress. And again, Iowa, there's no better place to be in the U.S. right now than right here, at least through February 3rd. After that, I'm not sure. But through February 3rd, we're making a difference like no place in the country. And what you're going to do is awesome. That's great. Yeah. So, virtual cafe serving food and drink until 7 o'clock. So get your order in before then. Again, thanks everybody for coming. Hang out. We're here till 8 o'clock or so, and we've got some Irish music happening. Yeah, these guys, I play with them a lot. Most of them are decent people. There's Irish music every second Tuesday at Java Joe's, and my favorite is the third Tuesday at Cooney's up in Beaverdale. So, thanks everyone.
How do you build your barriers? The taller I become, farther you take my rights away, faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that though you're doing me wrong, so wrong, but my pride is gone. Oh no, something inside so strong, something inside so strong. Hear my voice, I will say, you hide behind walls of fear and gold, but your eyes will come running. You take my space in time, you swallow up, that's mine. Light will shine so brightly it will blind you. Inside so strong, I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong, but that my pride is gone. Oh no, something inside so strong, something inside so strong. Yeah. Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough, we know better. Just look them in the eye and say, We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. Because there's something inside so strong. I know that I can take it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Nothing my pride is gone. Oh no. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. Yeah. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. Yeah.